Hello, everyone, and welcome. It is Tuesday. We are in March. You told me the date. It's back here, 5th.
5th, yes.
And it is quite the rainy day, although this is not a weather podcast. It is rainy, so you'll see, if Kevin stood up, you would definitely see that it poured on him. It poured on me a little bit.
Aw.
But we are here.
I had my umbrella when I came in.
Excellent.
Yeah,
See,
that
I'm
would've been
not
a smart
an umbrella.
thing to do. I didn't check the
My
weather.
inverted umbrella. Inverted.
Yes. Oh, inverted.
Interesting.
It has, not why we're here, but it's a thing of, it's a wonderful invention. I'll show you later.
Alright.
You know of all people that you learn random things throughout the podcast. So even though we're talking IT and instructional technology, you always pick up a couple of fun facts here. So we are here today with two special guests. First and foremost, we have Connor the Tiger next to Kevin, and we also have Deb Smith.
Hi.
So Deb, for those listeners who may not know you, if you could just tell us a little bit about yourself, the building we're in, the classroom we're in,
A little bit. So this
Yeah.
is my science room. It has been my science classroom for 20 years. Prior to this, I was over in Duffield in room 9 for 4 years. And
So this is your home.
This is my home, and there's just so many fun things in this room. And usually, if somebody needs something, I have it. That's the great thing.
I can bet on that.
There was one thing I didn't have. My colleague Tiffany recently needed a toy sailboat, a boat for a density lesson, and I did not have it.
Deb.
Otherwise, there's so many things in these drawers and on these counters and in my prep room. Science teachers get that real estate. We get a whole prep room too.
So before we get to the good stuff, we have some class pets too.
We do. We have 2 tarantulas. We had 3. One, sadly, his time was over. We have Fergie and Rump Roast over there, the tarantulas.
Rump roast.
She's a Mexican red rump, hence Rump
Yeah.
Roast. I don't remember why we named Fergie. They're both in their teens now.
Okay.
So, yeah, the kids like them. Sometimes they molt every few years, and that's always exciting, because then they think there's 2 tarantulas in the tank. And then over in one of the drawers, if any of the kids get nosy and they start opening my drawers, if they open one of them, they will find a drawer full of exoskeletons and snake sheds.
Oh, look at
So
that.
that's always a little
This is the
unnerving.
classroom to be in. Definitely. All right, so I've invited Deb on the podcast for a multitude amount of reasons. Number one, she has taken probably every single course and PD offering there is in regards to technology integration. And she has been, I would say, if something comes up that's new, it's usually Deb is trying it, whether it's from the infrastructure side or the instructional side. So one of the things that comes to mind first and foremost is securely.
I love my securely. When
And
it's working.
When it's
Which
working.
is usually.
Which is usually, yeah. It is usually working. There's always those glitches with technology, no matter what it is. Like I
Yeah, of
remember
course.
one time I was doing a PD and Nearpod just kept spinning. And I said, I promise this won't happen on the regular. And then I looked like, are you telling the truth or are you not?
Yeah.
But that always happens with technology, so we have to be a little bit forgiving. So do you want to take us through how you got started with Securely, what it is, instead of me, speaking about it? I think it's great coming from...
So it came off of the COVID era, and we saw the need that we needed to be able to monitor what the students saw on their screens as well as shut them down and block them. So I jumped right on board because most people know I have control issues, but that's not the only reason. I really want the students to be focused on what they should be doing, and 11, 12-year-olds really need a lot of help with that. So what I do, I just had to I use my Keep Notes, and I learned about Keep Notes from one of the very early classes.
Yeah, yep.
So I still use those,
I love it.
thanks to you. So I monitor their screens with it while we're working. Not all the time. I do have it scheduled to always be running. So even if I'm not on there watching what they're doing, at the end of the period I get a report. And then I see where they've been, and then I add where they shouldn't have been to my block list,
Sure.
which is now about
We're in the
230
hundreds.
something. No, I'm over
Yep.
200 on mine.
Yep.
The public one is, my private one is over 200. What I really love now, when I can do it, is the share your screen.
Mhm.
So in science we do little demo labs. So if I'm at the counter, and really they can't all see what I'm doing over there, I can turn the camera on my Chromebook, share my screen through securely, lock their screen so they can't go anywhere else if necessary.
Sure.
Or if it's something that they need to see, they can toggle, but then they see what I'm doing over there. I could achieve that through a Google Meet, but there's a lot more steps.
Correct.
So I like to,
And then you have
Now-
to worry about the whole muting component.
yes, because I did recently have to do something like that when I couldn't share something. But there's always a workaround. That's the beauty of technology. If you know enough about all the different things, you can always. Today I wanted to share. One of my students taught me, my Rosalie, that they can use. What do they call it? When you go to your shelf and you can do live caption,
Okay. Yep.
because not all of the videos in the Nearpod might have closed captions. So she showed me that, and I wanted to show them today because they didn't all have their earphones, how to do that. And I wanted to show them on my screen, which I couldn't share because there's a little glitch going on. So I quickly went to my smartboard, got the camera there, held it onto my screen so they could still see what I was talking about. So you always have to think, how else can I do this?
Always on your feet with technology.
It is, but it's great because there's a lot of ways to fix it. So I
like the point that you made with the share screens, because I think that a lot of us, when Securely was rolled out for everyone, I think it was in the mindset of, hey, you can monitor what your students are doing and just take a peek at their screen live, right?
So much more.
But there's so much beyond that. And that's how you get started. Learn one or two features to get yourself comfortable with the program. And that's exactly like the path that we want you to use. But there's so much more, right? So definitely take on
And they've had little classes as well where I've learned. The other feature I really like, which I forgot to make a note, I just remembered, the private chat.
Mm-hmm.
So I have a student in first period who's hearing impaired, or just any of them. I can send them a message individually and just say, hey, what are you doing? Or how's it going? If I'm at a professional development day,
I remember you actually did this.
I've asked them to ask the sub something, or, I can still see what they're doing. So that's also a great feature to be able to, and I can blast out an announcement to all of them. They'll be in the middle of something. I can send an announcement to everyone at the same time instead of having to verbally say it. So many cool features.
Right. I remember, it had to be a year or two ago, we had the Technology Literacy Committee,
Mm-hmm.
and Deb was there, and I remember her looking at her screen, and we were all talking, and you were talking too. I just noticed you being so focused on your Chromebook, and you were like, hold on 1 minute, I just need to send them something quick. And she was on Securely, and she was able to just get that message to them because they had questions.
Right.
So it's really, and it's really cool that you don't even have to be in this building. It's as long as you're on, the Chromebook and the same Wi-Fi,
Yeah.
and it's linked up to Google Classroom, so that all works.
It does work. So it's a great feature.
So now, we talked about Securely, but she has a Nearpod shirt on. She's sporting the Nearpod shirt.
My swag. I won
Yes.
swag. I won Brain Pop swag Sunday, the day before the break.
Uh-huh.
I did a
I saw
4-hour
that,
webinar,
yeah.
and I got Moby stickers, and the kids got one
Moby
for
stickers.
raffling, and a journal, and yes.
See, I
I'm a
will say
dad.
that all of the vendors that we use, they're very giving with swag, and they want teachers to participate. Not only for the business purpose of it, but it makes it fun too.
I have time to climb buttons. Do you see my time to climb buttons right
You
there?
have to move the camera.
I know. I'm going to take them off the wall here.
All right, here we go. Time
Oh
to
my
run.
gosh, this is
part of Nearpod, everyone.
This is Nearpod. Look at these time to climb
Oh, it's awesome.
character buttons that I
Yep.
won. So cute.
They are cute.
They are cute.
So Nearpod is a platform that we've been using for a long time, pre-COVID, I would definitely say. And it actually started out in the special ed department, where our prior special ed director had said, hey, I know of this platform, I want to get it for my teachers to use. And with that, it just expanded from there. We actually had Nearpod come a few times to central office to give, introductory trainings. But it's really been a platform that no matter what subject area you teach, no matter what grade level you teach, I've even had kindergartners participate in Nearpod lessons. And I think that's the biggest thing with educational technology is some of these platforms are just so fitted for grade-specific lessons or skill set. So you can't always find a platform that reaches a 12th grader and a kindergartner, but Nearpod is one of those platforms that can. So if you want to talk a little bit about...
And they have a big ELL library also now.
Absolutely.
For today, we have mandated state labs now, and I'm starting the second one, the Cool It Lab, Thursday. And there's some things that students don't know, like scientific notation. So I found, it happened to be an ELL Nearpod, but I didn't need it for that reason. But I took their scientific notation one, took out a lot of the slides, because I just needed the students to understand what it is, how to read it. So I took that, and then I recorded some things, and so today my students, I didn't have to say anything except why they were doing it. So some kids were finishing up a quiz from yesterday, an open notes quiz. Other kids could get started on the Nearpod. It engaged them. It told them why they were doing it, taught them vocabulary, had some matching games, polls on, how confident do you feel, and they just run with it. It's soup to nuts.
Right.
From engaging to assessing and everything in between. There was a video, really cool video of zooming all the way into a cell and all the way out to space to show that scientific notation.
I always think of Nearpod as like one-stop shopping.
Yes.
You have all your interactive components. You have your student engagement components. You have all your slides. Like, I wish Nearpod existed when I was in school, because it's one of those things where, when I went to school, it was just take notes and here's your slides, and it was pure memorization, and that was basically it. But all of these vendors, and whether it's Nearpod or Pear Deck or whoever, we happen to use Nearpod here, it's that interactive component, and you can gauge like what your students are able to know, how they're doing, how they're progressing in the lesson. So I think that's huge for education. It's a huge step in the right direction.
And the fact that, because I teach 2 inclusion classes, so I'm always mindful. I usually start from there and work up. How can I reach them? So in your Nearpod, you always have the feature you can turn on to record their answer. So if they're not proficient at writing, they can use the audio messaging recording one.
Nice. So now I'm going to ask you, how do you use Securely? How does everything blend together for you by using Securely and Nearpod?
Well, so for instance, it's funny, today's the perfect day. So I had Securely screened to see where they were at, but then I was in my Nearpod, and when they're in the Nearpod, I can do view progress. So now I can see specifically if they've passed a screen or how they did on a matching or a quiz. I had one student who I needed to message to her to ask her a question about her hearing aids and where they were and why, if she was able to. That's when we finally turned on the caption thing. So Securely is always running.
Right, and that's our monitoring piece.
Right. The Nearpod I use on average once a week. It's also great. Anyone who was absent today, their lesson is there.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what else.
No, so basically, I don't want everyone to think that it's either or.
No, they're running at the same time.
Right.
Securely's always running. So
Yeah.
even if the kids aren't on their Chromebooks, I get a report saying nobody was on their Chromebook.
Right.
Most times they're using their Chromebook for something.
Mm-hmm.
Even if it's a group task, they're all working on, when you get really brave and they're all working on the same Google Doc groups of kids. So I can still then monitor or see, were they doing that? Because I have kids shopping on Amazon recently. They were looking for science supplies, but I said to him,
All right.
well, now that's blocked. We can't be on Amazon during school, during science. So that's just like always there.
Right. And it's funny because when, I think they still have it, that red and green portion for Nearpod where it can tell you if the student is in the lesson or not.
Right.
But I always found that was like a 50-50 chance of reliability.
It did, it lagged.
Yes.
It lagged a little
so
bit.
I think by running Securely at the same time, the first initial thing if I'm running a Nearpod lesson is to see whether it's red or green for students, to see if they're on Nearpod and responding. But you then have Securely to let you know that, okay, they aren't on any other
And
sites.
Securely does have a little bit of a lag sometimes as well. So I've had to say, can you turn your computer around? Or go look over their shoulder for a moment. It's not that I hide up there. I'm out and about, but I can be doing several things at one time because of those features.
There's nothing, I always say, there's nothing like the human element of it.
Right.
You know, technology is always, there's always going to be something that goes wrong, goes right, whatever. So you still need your, you know, behavior management.
Right. Today there was a student whose screen was blocked because sometimes that happens. There'll be one computer that glitches. So I was trying to share the screen that hasn't been completely fixed yet, and of course his screen had this site is blocked, and it wasn't. So I had to turn off securely for a moment, and then it released him and put it back on. So, you know, I still have to see what's physically on their screen with my eyeball sometimes.
Yeah, that's important. I'm going to turn it over to Kevin, actually, Mr. Securely over here.
Yeah.
So do you want to talk a little bit about your, I guess, role in the IT department in regards to Securely? Because
Yeah, sure. So there's multiple components of Securely. There's the regular Securely filtering, which is just throughout the entire district. That kind of allows.
So is that S that we see on
yeah. So there's like basically the filtering, the content filtering portion of it, what sites are allowed and not allowed on your Google Chromebooks, your browsers. And then there's an aware component where it's searching for keywords, like in the event if a student is searching something they're not supposed to, it actually alerts administration throughout the district, because there's been cases where maybe a child or somebody is searching, you know, something that shows signs of depression, or maybe if there's some sort of threat, stuff like that, maybe inappropriate content. So there's reports on that, and that runs on the back end of things. And then obviously the classroom component that Deb is always in and always using, and she actually recently reached out to me. Deb is always ahead. I feel like is always ahead of the curve, and it's a good thing.
Even for these companies.
In all seriousness. So they did a recent update, and Deb reached out saying, "Hey, listen, I think there may be a problem." She took it upon herself and reached out to the company, but
they're
also
very responsive, and I knew that would be the best route.
Right.
And then do the ticket.
Right. And then besides looping them in, she looped me in. Basically, the recent update fixes an issue that Deb came across about the screen sharing. You need the newest version of the extension pushed out to the Chromebooks. 1.26. So we were going back and forth.
You can always count on Deb, everyone.
Yeah, 100%.
She's part of the tech department.
She really is.
I would love to be. I love it.
So she actually there's basically right now an issue with the current version being pushed out, and our Chromebooks haven't all checked in to update to the latest version. So Securely basically gave us some steps to try. So there's kind of a back end component right now, and ideas being thrown around about how to fix it district wide. We tested kind of like one case scenario to try to resolve the issue, and it seems to work. Do we think that it's a great solution? On my end, I don't think it is, because then every device that comes across for students has to be touched. So we have to come up with a game plan. We know what the fix is. We're still working with Securely to get it resolved, but Deb's always like in front of these things and lets us know, because sometimes we're not sure of those issues, and obviously end users are the first people that are affected by that.
And this is the perfect scenario about how us, the instructional side, is always impacted by the IT side and vice versa. And that communication always needs to be going and open, because without that, you may have not known someone. If we did not communicate that to them, we would just be stuck in being like, okay, we'll wait till tomorrow, and then
because sometimes things do roll over and fix themselves. I've learned to be a little more patient with some things. You know, when new students come into the class, and I know now to wait, and they're going to be...
Google is like that 24-hour rule. Like, it's always like, okay, I'll wait till tomorrow. If not tomorrow, then something's going on.
So it's like, to your point earlier of like, technology, as great as technology is, there's issues that happen. Because you know what? If there weren't issues, then, hey, I wouldn't have a job, and none of us would have jobs. But nothing is perfect. Nothing is perfect, because even a few weeks ago, Google themselves, one of the biggest platforms in the world, was having issues, like worldwide. It wasn't like exclusive to Connect Quad. It wasn't exclusive to New York. It was all over the place. So when things like that happen, it's like there's only so much we can do. But hey, listen, mistakes happen, issues happen. There's humans behind all of it too. But yeah, it's when you're in front of things, it helps us work better, finding maybe better solutions or other ways to solve issues that you guys are experiencing, and obviously more information for us helps us get the issue resolved quicker for you guys to not be impacted as much. So
apparently there's a lot of chatter still in the Nearpod Educator Facebook page because the Google issue impacted where people can't make their Nearpod starting with the Google. I don't do it that way. I pull in my Google slides.
Sure.
I never was really happy with that other way, but people can't do that right now.
Uh-oh.
And they're still waiting to see are they going to be fixing that.
wow.
It's all these integrations. You'll see that all of these companies have integrated with Google. So if Google's having an issue, they're
Right.
more likely going to be impacted and affected by that issue.
But again, to your point of multiple ways of doing things,
Right.
so it's you kind of adapt and figure alternative ways.
The whole one-to-one ticket thing has really been awesome because we can
It's a conversation now.
right.
Right.
And I just, even in the school due ticket still,
Yeah.
if there's something wrong in the ladies' room, I'm either calling the custodian or putting in a ticket, and it's just a great way to communicate without having to,
Oh yeah, of course.
you have 10,000 emails. I mean, sometimes I do still do a private.
No, but
Because I
but
just
those are
know-
good details though you can put in an email too. So
Right.
sometimes a ticket you can only say so much.
Right,
and
when I
then-
wanted to forward this securely,
course.
I can do a screenshot. That's one thing we haven't been able to do yet is upload a video. We can do a link in the notes.
Right.
Yeah.
I figure all this, how am I going to get this
Yeah.
done?
I didn't even realize you can't send. I know you can upload a screenshot.
Right.
Right.
You can't upload a video.
Yeah.
That's why in the recent Brain Pop certifier thing, I was
Sure,
sharing
yeah.
the web link and figured if you copy paste it in your browser,
Right. Then you can see the
it
video.
would
Right.
it would run through.
It's a good point. Deb's always figuring it out.
No, she is.
My tagline says lifelong learner.
It's true.
And the thing is, every now and then one of the kids will come up with something,
Absolutely.
which is always awesome.
Kids
Yeah,
are always keeping
especially
us
when
honest.
I'm pushing into classes. I'm always set on okay, there's usually 3 ways to do something, and a student always figures out that 4th way for me, and I'm like, you know what, good for you, you know. But as long as you're always, I always say to the kids, and in trainings too, like with Google, if I click insert and do something, there's always going to be a shortcut or another way. You're always going back and eventually doing the same thing,
You are.
right?
Right.
So.
I've really gotten big fan of Cami. Now I've done a lot of courses with that, and so many features on it. So they were recently doing a lab, and they had to insert a photo of their activated ice pack. And I told each of the students, use your Chromebook, insert the picture onto your screen. They know that through normally a Google slide, one of them can take it and share it, which of course they can do on the Cami, but it's a little more involved. So I had to kind of say, yes, I know you can do that, and I've showed you that, but everyone needs to take their own photo for this.
Right.
Because sometimes I know for a while their photos, if it was on the Chromebook itself, if it restarted, they would lose that. So I would teach them, get it up to your drive.
Yeah.
Sure.
I feel like that's not as much anymore. I don't
Mhm.
know. I'm not sure. On my end, my stuff stays.
Yeah, I haven't
Probably
had
longer
it.
than it should, so I
Yeah.
have to
We always
clean it out
encourage everybody to use the
sometimes.
drive anyway. It's easier, accessible.
Yes.
God forbid something happens to the device.
Well,
Just like
that's
anything
it.
else.
Yeah.
Right.
So just extra steps. But
Right.
I think the kids leave here pretty savvy.
I think
I would
so.
hope.
Yeah.
We're getting there.
Yeah. Take it at a time.
Yeah. All right, Deb. Well, I want to thank you for coming
Thank you so
That
on
was
much.
fun.
to the podcast. I want to thank Connor the Tiger for
Connor
his
the Tiger.
participation.
It's been quiet.
He's wearing his
It's-
birthday hat today.
Is it his birthday though?
No,
Or is it
yesterday
sporting
it was Mikey's birthday, so he sat across from Mikey.
Okay.
So usually that's what happens. He will sit near the birthday child. The newspaper club takes him and puts him all over the building, and they do, where's Connor? They do little games. So
That's awesome.
anyone who's seen the school newspaper will definitely see Connor. We're going to be interviewing Mr. Bradley soon because
Okay.
this is his first year as assistant principal. So he'll probably have a photo taken with Connor at some point.
Nice.
Gotcha.
Awesome.
Excellent.
It's fun.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Deb.